Let's make this clear. I do not normally, nor do I condone, day drinking. But because it's for you guys, I'm all over this one. So, in an effort to get videos out, I am day drinking today, but only because I didn't find another time to actually get it done. This is going to be my part 2 to my bourbon, rye, or scotch video, and this will be the tasting note. Tasting notes, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, they're extremely subjective. You're going to find that each distiller has a profile that they're looking for. Not only that, but they will tell you what they, the professionals, no, they are professionals, and the professionals will tell you what tasting notes they get from their particular whiskeys. And your mileage may vary depending on your particular interests and experience with different tastes, for lack of a better explanation. But there are certain things that you're going to find in each of these that are very specific to them, plus some other similarities across the board that you'll only find in whiskeys. So let's go ahead and start with our first one, Scotch. Scotch. Since they primarily use malted barley, you're going to get more of that malted taste. Almost similar to a beer, but not quite in that same respect. Also, other tasting notes would be dark fruits, cereals, grains. Sometimes I get kind of a bread note to it. And of course the others, which are very, very reminiscent of others, you'll get smoke, some oak, vanilla, and those are kind of the things that you're going to find within all whiskeys, but slightly different when it comes to a Scotch. So let's go ahead and see what tasting notes that I get out of Scotch. So this is Macallan 12, and it is Macallan Double Cask 12-year-old, the mastery of wood and spirits, for which Macallan has been known for since 1824. Goes on to say that it is a delicate, indulgent flavors of the American oak, including vanilla, citrus, butterscotch, and characteristics of rich fruit, sherry, and ginger. So let's give it a taste. Up front, you get that very malty bread note. There's a citrus in the middle and a bit of pepper that comes in. Not too strong, but just a slight bit of pepper. Almost a creaminess to it that you don't normally get with bourbons or ryes, and I'll get into some of the other notes similar to that when we get to those. A lot of vanilla on the back, and it's just a very nice, soft palate. Very floral in the way it's delivered. So very, very nice. I do enjoy a good Scotch. Next on our list is rye. So typical tasting notes from a rye are going to be somewhere around the more grassy notes and a bit more peppery than, say, a bourbon. Depending on the brand, you're going to get those other similar notes such as oak, smoke. Again, those are going to be slightly different in their complexities versus, say, a Scotch. But they're very similar in the respect that a rye is closer to a bourbon than a Scotch is. Now, ryes I've not historically been a huge fan of, but I'm starting to come around to them as my palate develops and my tastes change. So it's now got a lot more similarities, I think, to bourbon, which is actually more my favorite. And it's just enough of a departure that it gives me something new to try and kind of figure out what those tasting or flavor or aromas are. So with that, we're going to try a Templeton 6-year rye. And again, I get a lot of the same kind of aromas that I would get from a bourbon, but maybe a little more floral. I'm not real good at nosing. I've never really been good at that. I don't usually pick up a lot of the same things that some of my friends get, but so we'll give her a try. Yeah, and there's a lot more of that pepper right off the bat, but it's very, very sweet. Way sweeter than a Scotch ever would be. And there's nothing wrong with that. You get a lot more maple and brown sugar in this. There's kind of a dark fruit note, but it's more aggressive than bourbon is. And it's kind of hard to describe, really. Get a lot of that vanilla. Not so much cream like you get with a Scotch, but it does have a softer, almost marshmallow maybe note. But again, another fine whiskey to try out. So give ryes a try sometime. You might find that that's actually more your favorite than anything else. And the next one is good old bourbon. Now, bourbon probably has as wide of selection to choose from as a Scotch does. Not that ryes don't have a large selection, they're becoming more and more popular, and they're broadening throughout all distillers and becoming the next hot whiskey that's out there. But with bourbon, the tasting notes that the distillers are saying that you're going to get from this, and typically you will get from these, are, of course, your vanilla, your smoke, your oak. Again, all of those notes are going to be across all three of these boards. And those are very typical when it comes to whiskey because of the aging process. You're getting that oak and smoke from the char of the oak barrel, and it's just very similar because of the way that they're aged. The other aromas and tasting notes that you're going to get from bourbon are a very sweet note. You're going to get some possibly brown sugar, some maple syrup, or even molasses. You're going to get some dark fruit notes. You may even, in some, I've picked up apple, pear. So also in bourbon, you're going to probably find some other notes that you may not think of. And this is probably gonna piss off one of my buddies, but in a lot of bourbons, I get banana. I kid you not, banana. But there are some other ones, and you'll pick up some of these with some of the ryes as well, where you're gonna get some maybe black pepper, or maybe a tobacco leaf, maybe clove or cinnamon. You're going to pick up a lot of varieties within those, and it's a very broad, and again, I'm using this word a lot, subjective to your taste. And then we've got bourbon. Old Forester 1870 original batch. You've probably heard me talk about Old Forester on this channel a lot, and you will in the future as well, because it's one of my absolute favorites. Pretty much anything that Old Forester makes is top on my list. I'm not trying to be an Old Forester fanboy, but it's so good. Gotta give it a try. And bourbon is probably my go-to drink. It's more my forte, it's more my taste palette, and it's just my enjoyable drink for the most part. As far as aromas, again, not good with aroma, but maybe some maple syrup. Not much smoke with this. Definitely not as sweet as, say, a rye, but still very sweet when compared to a Scotch. This one, you get a lot of that oak and wood. It's just pretty prominent. You get a lot more smoke in a bourbon than you do in or char, actually, I should say. Not really the smoke, but more the char than you do in a Scotch. You also get a lot of brown sugar, vanilla, all the normal tasting notes that you get from the other two. But in here, you'll get a lot more caramel than you would in the other two. Not a lot of pepper, but it does have kind of a sparkly note. And it's just a more straightforward kind of whiskey. But they're very, I would say, more wood forward. Those notes that you would get from that barrel, you're getting a lot of those notes. You're getting a lot of the corn base. That's where you're going to get a lot more of that sweetness and note than anything else. And again, there it is. To piss off my friend Clint, banana. I always get banana in Old Forester, regardless of the proof or what style it is, but I always get that banana, and it's not really a real banana, it's more of a fake banana, but it's still really, really good and very, very enjoyable. So if that's more something that you would like, then definitely check out a bourbon. So now that you know a little more about bourbon, rye, and Scotch and its tasting notes, I think it's time for you guys to get out and give it a try. So with that, Bacon and I say thank you for joining us. If you would, please like, share, and hit that subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I appreciate the over 300 that have subscribed in the last 2 weeks. Huge boost to my ego and my confidence, and hopefully I can get out more more to you. And obviously I'm not above using an animal to get more. So with that, I tell you all, thank you. Long ashes and full glasses to every one of you. And to another new subscriber, I want to wish a very happy day to Lance. His mom got a hold of me, and I wanted to make sure that I said hi to him. So if you guys would all say hi to Lance down in the comments, I'm sure it would absolutely make his day. So thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one. Yeah, bud.